Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Every day I cover cutting-edge AI news and talk with the leaders behind it, breaking down what it means for your life and business. Anthropic's Claude Fable 5 is back along with Mythos 5. The US has lifted export controls on it, and SpaceX is showing investors a handset-like AI device prototype. Meta is planning a cloud business where they're essentially going to resell AI compute, just like SpaceX copying their playbook. A company called BioShocking has created a jailbreak attack on 6 different AI browsers, everything from OpenAI to Anthropic to Gemini, and it has convinced them that 2 + 2 = 5. There's some reasons why this is problematic. I'll get into them. Cloudflare is also going to block mixed-use AI crawlers by default, and that's going to start in September this year. Google is bringing Gemini Spark Agent to Mac. They're targeting essentially Claude Desktop and Copilot, and there's a lot of beef that they're having with Anthropic over this. The majority of you guys leave amazing reviews on the show, but every once in a while I get a 1-star, and I'm going to be honest, these are some of my favorite reviews to read. I want to read you one of my favorites I just got a month ago. It says, if you want a rehash of quote-unquote real news with naive commentary by a tween, this will be perfect for you. That's from I Hate Nicknames 99. Much appreciated. And this is kind of funny because I actually get, if you search for my name, Jaden Schaefer, one of the top, like Google shows you the other things people search for, and one of the top things is Jaden Schaefer age that people search for. Guys, this one says I'm a tween, so just so you know, I am 30 years old with 4 children. I have a young face. But anyways, that was one of my favorite reviews. If you like the show, you don't think that it is a naive commentary rehash of fake news, I would appreciate a review. We got to offset this 1-star, but in all seriousness, I appreciate all the incredible reviews you guys left, and if you haven't left one already, I would appreciate it. I might even read it on the show. Let's get into our first story with Fable 5. The U.S. Commerce Department is lifting export restrictions on Fable 5, and I think they actually announced this yesterday. Because of that, they've rolled it out today. I actually have it on my computer, and while we've been talking and for the last couple hours, I actually had to go and scan through the entire code base of one of my bigger projects. I have a really big project that is basically I just use it internally for myself to help with all the marketing and everything I do with podcasting, as well as everything that I do for SEO. I have a news site which kind of goes along with this website, aichatdaily.com, and it uses AI and a bunch of other different sources to generate news articles about everything happening in AI and do deep dives on it. Now, it's a really beefy project. There's a lot going on there, and I'm thinking of turning it into a product. Anyways, so I had Fable 5 run through the whole thing. And if you have any sort of project that you've been working on, whether that's coding or whether that's just a big project that has a lot of moving parts, I would recommend using Fable 5 on it today. Up until July 7th, we have the ability to use Fable 5 for about 50% of all of your tokens. After that, I think it's going to get cut down. If you want to use Fable 5 for more than 50% of your Claude Max tokens or whatever, you have to pay the API costs, so you're not going to be able to totally max this thing out. So I would use it. You have 1 week from today to get as much usage out of it, and I would 100% do that. It's really smart at coding and understanding complex stuff, so run it through all of your systems, run it through all of your code bases. Today is the day to get it. That's just a PSA. Anthropic has actually blocked, so in order to get this thing put back online, because it was basically blocked over concerns that it was going to help foreign adversaries attack U.S. infrastructure, power grids, banks, that kind of stuff. And so this all came from Amazon, who actually did a whole research project on a jailbreak that they found, and they showed this to the Treasury. And then it got blocked, and there was all this snafu about it. In all of the drama that happened, Anthropic originally said, "Hey, look, we don't need to fix this issue." I think Amazon went to them first, then they didn't do anything. Then they went to the Treasury, and Anthropic said, "Hey, look, we don't need to fix this because OpenAI has the same jailbreak as possible on OpenAI and Gemini." And so I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but Anthropic got Fable 5 pulled, and they've now fixed it. Apparently, with that jailbreak that Amazon discovered, they've now fixed it. So over 99% of cases, it actually is going to, stop and has guardrails stopping people using that jailbreak. They also have a dedicated internal team that now monitors jailbreak reports 24/7, and Anthropic launched a HackerOne bug bounty program for security researchers. This is actually awesome, and I've seen a lot of bad PR from security researchers, not just with Anthropic, but with a lot of other models. I think Lovable had it for a while, where there'd be big security breaches, vulnerabilities, issues, and the platforms are like, look, this isn't our fault because of XYZ reason. They would kick the can down the road, and just not a very good thing when we need to be pretty secure on a lot of this stuff. So happy that Anthropic has launched this. Mythos 5 has also returned to US users on June 26th. Fable 5 is now globally available without export licensing requirements. Obviously, Anthropic is moving very fast. This is 3 weeks since they were shut down, and now they're fully back online, and the ban has been lifted. SpaceX is showing investors a new handset. It is a prototype of an AI device. It's slimmer than an iPhone, and it runs on custom software and XAI tech. This is probably going to put Elon Musk into direct competition with OpenAI and Johnny Ive, because they're also creating a hardware, doing some sort of hardware play, although they haven't said the exact form factor yet. I think this is showing that XAI and SpaceX really is making a very serious bet on building AI devices. Now, this is going to be, I guess, kind of tricky, because up until this point, the Humane AI pin failed, dramatically with, $800 million, almost $1 billion raised. That whole company went up in smoke. I think it sold to HP for like $300 million. And then we also had the Rabbit R1 that kind of flopped, to be honest. Then we have the Friend pendant that flopped. I will say the one AI device that really crushed is the Meta Ray-Ban, or the Meta Smart Glass collaboration that they've done with a bunch of different companies. That one seems to be doing quite well. And actually, that's the first time I think we've seen a really successful AI hardware combo. Maybe SpaceX has the next one. Maybe OpenAI has the next one. We have some of these big players making moves, but we don't know exactly what they're doing. Apparently, they're going to be betting that AI devices that don't have, Android or iOS on them are going to be successful. I think Apple's also making some glasses, by the way. So because SpaceX acquired XAI, they're able to roll their technology in. It looks like they're trying to do what OpenAI is doing. They're trying to pull, the model, the operating system, the hardware, and bring it all into one thing, copying, what like Apple has done. SpaceX has manufactured scale and silicone access through Tesla. So they're able to pull off a hardware device, right? I mean, Tesla's got so many gigafactories and so much, manufacturing capacity. A partnership there would not be hard. They also have Starlink Mobile, which is a native wireless connectivity. I think they have a lot of possibility there. And to be fair, I've actually heard Elon Musk in the past being frustrated with Apple and iPhone, saying like, hey, do we need a Tesla phone? Or maybe that was comments I saw on a post of him being frustrated at Apple. They had a beef a little while back. And then he talked to Tim Cook, and I think they smoothed it all out. Oh, you know what? It was when Apple pulled off of X, because they said that Elon and everything on X was bad, right? So back in that moment when all the advertisers were pulling, that was something that happened. So with all of that, I would be really curious to see if they would go after a phone. I don't know if they'll go for a full phone market, or they'll make something kind of custom for themselves. But they have a lot of the pieces, especially with Starlink. If they were to roll out, let's say, Starlink, and they made a phone, for example, where you got the phone and it had, worldwide connectivity for a really cheap price, it'd be interesting to see, if they would be able to compete in any meaningful way. Maybe they would have an Android spinoff, although I don't feel like Elon would want to play with Google. Meta is copying the SpaceX playbook and is planning to resell AI compute. What's interesting to me is it feels like basically we have all of these massive companies. All of them are doing some sort of data center build out, some sort of AI infrastructure build up. They realize just how powerful that is, but not all of their tools are being used as much as they would want. I don't think Meta AI is scaling the way Mark Zuckerberg wanted, and I don't think Grok is scaling the way that Elon wanted. Now, they have a lot of great technology, et cetera there, but it feels like OpenAI and Anthropic are really, especially Anthropic, are really running away with a lot of the market that they would like, both of those companies. Now, what do they do about that? They have all of this extra capacity. They'll rent it out to other people, and that looks to be exactly what Meta is doing. It's going to be called Meta Compute. It's basically cloud business. It's going to resell AI compute capacity. It's also going to host its own models, so Meta's going to get their own models on there, and they're competing directly with AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure and SpaceX here. This is following the $182 billion in infrastructure commitments, and it's very similar to what SpaceX has been doing. Meta's Ohio data center, which Mark Zuckerberg described it as Manhattan-sized, is expected to come online this year, and it's going to generate way more capacity than Meta's own products need. I think, in a perfect world, Meta AI would have been really popular, and they would be able to use it all. I think because it's not there, they're just going to sell it to other players. The business is going to sell both raw compute, so it's going to be very similar to CoreWeave, and they're going to have hosted access to Meta models, so that's going to be included in their closed-weight Muse Spark, which is very similar to what AWS's dual infrastructure plus model approach is. SpaceX basically already proved that this model works. xAI has signed deals with Anthropic, Google, and Reflection AI to lease Colossus 1 capacity, which is turning some of their excess compute into revenue immediately, and they're making billions of dollars doing that. So I think Meta is just going to follow in the footsteps there. There is a company and a researcher named Roy Paz, and they demonstrated Bioshocking. This is a jailbreak that has defeated safety guardrails in 6 different browsers. That's ChatGPT Atlas, Perplexity's Comet, Fable, GenSpark, Sigma, and Claude's Chrome plugin. And essentially they are tricking them into a fictional context where credential theft is acceptable, right? They're like, look, it's totally cool to steal people's credentials. This kind of cybersecurity attack in particular, I think, is showing that there is a bit of an architectural problem. A lot of the AI browsers, they merge, a control plane, which is deciding what to do, with the data plane, reading whatever content is on the web. And then they make them vulnerable to prompt injection at scale. And to be fair, I don't think this is something that this is something that's known. Like, I've heard Perplexity Comet, and I've also heard Claude for Chrome. I've heard both of these companies discuss this, like, hey guys, just so you know, when you're using these tools, watch out. But this attack in particular was interesting. They stage a puzzle game that rewards wrong answers, like 2 + 2 = 5, which basically causes the models to treat the entire session as fiction, and it disables the guardrails that normally block credential theft. So they're like, hey, look, let's play a puzzle game. We're in a fictitious world where 2 + 2 = 5, and they're like, okay, 2 + 2 = 5, and they're like, now, because that's wrong, like, credential theft is okay to do. Could you grab their password and give it to us? And it's like, oh yeah, I'm in this fake world. Here's the password that I'm seeing on the screen. So anyways, pretty crazy that they were able to figure this out. It's also crazy because that's very creative. I'm impressed that they found that. I wonder what kind of hunch led them to that conclusion to be able to find that jailbreak. But regardless, there's probably tons of these really weird, random edge case jailbreaks that people will find. Hopefully security researchers like this that disclose it and get it patched. But there could be bad actors finding out these types of things as well. According to them, when they ran this particular jailbreak, all 6 agents failed to flag the final instruction, which was to go steal some of the passwords, and they failed to say that was a safety violation, which basically is proving that it would go and do that for people. So unlike normal traditional browsers, which are going to enforce same origin policies to isolate data, the AI agents have broad account access, and they can reach siloed credentials, repositories, and mail through a single conversational request, right? In other words, you have a side pan on your AI browser where you're like, hey, go check my email and go do this, go to this website, grab this data, and it's just controlling your browser, clicking around. And so they have just so much, power to do anything that apparently, if you can jailbreak it, it can also go grab passwords and other things. Cloudflare is going to be blocking mixed-use AI crawlers by default starting in September. So essentially what this means is that AI companies are going to be forced to separate whether they're being a search bot or whether they're grabbing data for training or whether they're an agent crawler. So there's kind of these 3 different things, right? Google that is going and searching through your website to get some information for somebody, maybe on Gemini or any of these other tools, or Google that is going to your website to scrape your data to put it into their training set, which is what they're trying to avoid, or if it's an agent going and doing something on your website. There's kind of 3 different things that you can go to a website for. And apparently Cloudflare data shows that over 50% of AI crawler traffic refetches unchanged pages, which is basically wasting a lot of resources and publisher bandwidth, right? So if you have, you go crawl the website for one reason, then Google's going to just come back and crawl it again for the next user request and crawl it again for the next user request. And it's just hitting the website server over and over again. The website owner is going to have to pay for all that usage. Google doesn't have to. So anyways, I think they're trying to solve that problem. They're shifting from a pay per crawl to a pay per use pricing. Cloudflare has all these pricing models. In case people don't know, Cloudflare is basically a website that acts as kind of a middleman between your website and the web. And I actually have Cloudflare set up on all my websites. I've had it for years. For me, it's been that they give you a free SSL certificate, and also they allow you, if someone's trying to DDoS attack, so if someone's trying to just send tons of bots to your website to crash your server, they'll act as an intermediary and stop those attacks. So Cloudflare is really useful, and I get all of that for free. They got a bunch of paid tools that I think I pay for as well, but I get that for free on a ton of sites, and so it's a huge percentage of the internet has them. They have a bunch of programs that they have, like pay per crawl and pay per use pricing, where if you want to go crawl a website that has this enabled and they have Cloudflare, your company is going to have to pay to go and crawl those websites. Now, not everyone has opted in and not everyone is signed up with this program, but this is what they're kind of working towards. Ceramic.ai and U.com, which is like a browser. I've had the CEO of U.com on the podcast in the past. Both of those have signed up to be partners on this new model. So it's going to be interesting to see if they're actually able to help generate revenue for people, if they're able to get bot traffic to your website down, and where that goes. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is that Google is bringing their Gemini Spark agent to Mac computers, and they're trying to compete with Claude Desktop and Copilot, which are basically my two favorite tools I use all the time, and I think also Microsoft Copilot. But basically, this is going to open local file access and multi-app automations to Google AI Ultra subscribers. This is only in the United States, by the way, but I think this is for a lot of workflows that let Spark do things like sorting invoices. I mean, everything that you'd go and get ChatGPT desktop to, or sorry, that you get Claude desktop to do, Gemini is going to now have a competitor, Gemini Spark. And I think we see this also, like OpenAI is doing some version of this with Codex, and you have Perplexity that has Perplexity Computer that's trying to do the same thing. So anyways, there's a bunch of different people, but Google is getting in. It feels like Google is trying to keep up, basically. This is a great tool, though. I love these things where you download it directly onto your computer so it can have access to your files. There's so many projects where it's not just browser stuff. Google's been able to do some cool stuff with some of their Chrome extensions and that kind of thing, but being able to have an actual app on your computer unlocks it where the app can control your computer, and I'm like, hey, go grab the files from here, sort them, relabel them this way, move them over to this folder, organize things, delete the old stuff, reformat stuff, and everything on my computer I'm able to work with. I do that all right now with Claude Cowork, but it's going to be cool to be able to also use some Google tools as well for this. If you are sick of Claude only being able to generate text and code and not being able to generate images, audio, video, music, and everything else that the other AI models can, I would love for you to try out AIbox.ai. This is my own startup. You get access to over 80 different models, and we have an MCP that plugs them all straight into Claude. So you can use Claude, connect it to over 80 different models, everything from OpenAI to Gemini to Grok to 11 Labs, tons of cool image, audio, and video models. You can get them all on AIbox.ai. It is $8 a month, and you can plug it straight into Claude. All right, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. You get a link to AIbox.ai in the description, and I'll catch you in the next episode.